G'day guys, welcome to Shenke Garage. My name is Sam. So today's episode got the radiator and the thermos to mount up. Also got the transmission cooler to mount and plumb up, and the electric power steering pump, going to plumb that up as well. So yeah, we'll jump straight into the video and hope you enjoy. In this episode of the HX 1 tonner build, it's going to be a bit of a bits and pieces episode. So I've got the radiator to mount, the thermos, I've got the transmission cooler to mount as well and plumb up. And then the power steering pump, I need to plumb that up and then finish off the brake lines as well. Now the radiator that I'll be using is one from JAR, so Just Alloy Radiators. Now I purchased this one roughly 12 years ago, and I'm not sure if this company is still around or not. I presume that they are, but when I was doing a bit of research on good quality radiators, a lot of people recommended these radiators from JAR. And they make them to suit HQ to WB. Now it has been sitting around for 12 years. It's gone sort of pretty dull. I have given it a bit of a polish up on the top tank section and the bottom, and it's come up pretty good. So yeah, I'll might as well use this one. With the thermo fans, so these are off a AU Falcon, so the old classic AU, probably the most ugliest Falcon they ever made. But anyway, so these ones fit pretty well with the HQ WB radiators. So I'm going to use these thermos off the AU. And with the transmission cooler, this one is from PWR. I just bought this from RCE Performance Warehouse here in Brisbane. And yeah, so this is trans cooler 280 by 255. And it's got the -6 fittings already on there. So yeah, I've got that. I'm going to use these aluminium strips to mount that, and I've just got some stainless steel nuts and bolts. Now with these AU thermos, these actually fit better when they're mounted upside down. So that's sitting upside down now, and yeah, that shroud fits pretty nicely over that radiator. There is a slight little gap in here on both sides, but overall it's not too bad. There is a bit of clearance required to clearance out these necks on the top and the bottom there, but other than that, it fits pretty well. These mounts are for the AU, so I'm going to get rid of them. I'll cut them off and clean that up on both sides here, just to make that a lot more cleaner. And then I'll use these tabs to mount this shroud to the radiator. So I've got 4 tabs cut up and just bent into 90s, and then I'll drill holes and then bolt them in like that, just so it cleans up this top section with the mounts. Okay, I've just made up 4 of these little mounting tabs. So just out a 3mm flat bar, just bent in a 90 degree. And then I've just made up these washers to go on the back end. So just 3mm flat bar again, drilled a hole in the middle, and then that's just gonna spread the load across the plastic a little bit better. Okay, them thermos are all mounted up, nice and solid. It's definitely not going anywhere. You can just see where I've ground the old mounts off. So it looks a lot better with them ground off, just on the both sides. And these tabs with the bolts, I used nylock nuts. Now with the thermos, there's probably going to be a little bit of vibration. So if you just use normal nuts, they could potentially vibrate loose. So that's the reason why I've used the nylocks. And with this top bit here, there was a bit of a lip that come out. I had to grind that back so that sits nice and flush. You can kind of see where it's been ground back. Now what I'll probably do, I'm not really too sure yet, but I might bolt that piece over the top. So just a bit of aluminium just over the top. I think that's just going to make it look a little bit better. So yeah, I might just sort of drill some holes in there, get some countersink screws, and then just screw that to the top there. Okay, so that radiator is mounted in there. Sits in there nicely, sits flush with the radiator support panel, and there's plenty of clearance with the thermo fans there. So I think that's turned out pretty good. I've just got this piece sitting on there. So that's what it looks like without it. And that's what it looks like with it. I'm not sure whether I'll bolt that on or not. I'll just sort of have a think about that. You can't really notice that section there too much. It's only really from the sides, just because when you're sort of looking from here, you can't really see it anyway, but I just think it might tidy it up a little bit. Now with the trans cooler, I've mounted that in and I've just used some horizontal brackets. Just used some 3mm alloy flat bar. And it looks pretty good, but there is a slight issue. It's actually got quite a bit of flex there. So when I go like that, it just vibrates. So yeah, that's pretty dog shit. So I'm going to change that, I think. I'm not going to be happy with that. And I reckon once you drive down the road, it's just going to vibrate. So what I'll do is I'll get rid of the horizontal and I'll keep this cooler in the same position, but instead of going horizontal, I'll put them vertical. That way it's going to shorten them up. There is a couple of holes on this side that I can use, and then I might just have to drill some holes in the radiator support for this one here. Okay, I've just pulled everything apart and I've changed them brackets up to go vertical now, and that is definitely a hell of a lot better, a lot more stable. There's no movement in that now. So I'm happy with that. I just picked up, there's 2 holes already in the radiator support. So there was one there and then one up there. So I just used them holes already. And then this section here, I just drilled a hole into the bottom of the radiator support. And then on the top there, I just bent up a 90 degree and then drilled into the top of the radiator support. So that's turned out pretty nice. I was originally going to mount the trans cooler in the back end here. There's a spot sort of here, I could have mounted it, or in the middle, but I just saw it. I'll mount it in the front, that way I don't have to run a separate thermo fan. It's only a cruiser street car, so if it was a race car, I probably would have mounted it in the rear and had a separate thermo. But yeah, I think that is gonna turn out pretty nice like that anyway. I'm now at the point I'm going to need a heap of hose and fittings to start plumbing up the power steering and the tranny cooler. So I'm going to go out for a drive to RCE, which is Race Car Engineering. It's a performance warehouse here in Brisbane. They've pretty much got everything. So I'll go out for a drive and go get some stuff. Now I just got back from RCE and they had everything I needed in stock, which was quite handy. Now this shit, it's not cheap, but it is gonna last a very long time. I'll probably never have to replace these hose and fittings ever again. It's easy to work with and it just looks neat. I guess if you are on a budget, I probably wouldn't recommend this stuff because it does add up after a while. All these fittings and the hoses, you get quite a shock when you go to pay for it, but yeah, it's gonna last a very long time. Now I ended up going the 200 series Teflon hose and fittings. Now they do make a few different series hoses and fittings. I ended up going the 200 because it's all rated to 4000 PSI and it's compatible with the trans oil. Apparently the 100 series, which is a little bit cheaper, it's not compatible with the trans oil. It degrades it over time, the rubber on the inside, and it can start to wear off and you'll have bits of rubber sort of going through your system. So they recommend the 200 series as a Teflon, it won't degrade over time. So it was just easy to go 200 series and that way everything's all the one series. Now with the power steering hoses, they're the 2 part numbers that you need for the rack and pinion. So they're the 2 fittings that go into the rack. Now they're 2 different part numbers. They look similar, but they're different sizes. So you just need one each of them for the power steering rack. And then on the Astra pump, that is the same as this part number here. So you need another one of this one here to go into the pressure side of the Astra pump. And then this is a 3/8 barb adapter to -6AN. So that just, there's an O-ring in there, that unscrews, goes over the barb, and then that compresses onto the barb and then turns it into -6. So I've just dropped the tonner back on the ground. I was a little bit concerned that at full lock that the wheel was going to hit this Astra pump that I had installed in here. So it's a bit hard to see in there, but it does clear. I thought it was going to hit that bracket, but yeah, it clears no worries. There's about 60 mil still. So I thought I'd check that before I went any further, because if that hit, I'd be up shit creek. So it's been a while since I've seen it on its wheels, and I think that sits really nicely actually. It's probably going to drop a little bit more once the bonnet, the interior and the tray go on there, and once everything settles down it's probably going to drop. It's pretty bloody low already, so yeah, it's going to be pretty low once everything's on there. The arse end sits up a little bit, but I reckon, yeah, once that tray goes on, bit of weight in that tray, it's going to sort of drop that arse a little bit, and it's going to sit pretty much dead flat, I reckon. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way that's sitting. Okay, I've just got these bulkheads installed into the inner guard. I just think that's going to be a lot nicer than cutting this section out and having the hoses run through there. So yeah, I've got all these fittings installed as well, so I can start making up the hoses. And this is the this will be the pressure side, so pressure going into this port here, and then this will be the return side, then going back to the tank of the Astra pump. So I'll start making up these hoses. I'm not going to show you how to make the hoses. I've already done a video on plumbing up the fuel system, and yeah, there's a section in there on how to make all the hoses. So I'll put a card up in the corner if you want to check that video out. Okay, so them power steering hoses, they're all made up, and I think that's turned out pretty nice. It's a little bit hard to get them to follow parallel just because the angles on this rack are different of where the fittings come out. So I've just used 245s, and I think that looks not too bad considering. Would have been nice to get that nice parallel sort of bend, and but anyway, that's just probably my OCD kicking in. But so coming on the other side, made up these two hoses as well. So that is your pressure line, that one there, and it's a pretty short hose, but it does fit in there, no worries. And then this one here, I made that a little bit longer, just so it's got a nice looping bend and not like a tight bend, because otherwise it would put too much pressure on that barb. Because it is plastic, you don't want pressure on that barb and have it snap. So yeah, you just don't want any tension on that hose, so that's why I've sort of made it a little bit longer with a nice sort of looping bend there. But yeah, I think that has turned out pretty nice. Them trans cooler hoses, so they're all ran. They go underneath sort of where the sump is, and then follow that sump and then go into the transmission. It's a little bit hard to get in there and show you how they run, but yeah, they pretty much just follow the sump. I do have some of that heat shield stuff, if you can see there. It starts about roughly there and then goes the rest of the length of the hose, just to protect it from any heat from the extractors and the engine block. So yeah, on the other end they just go into this gap here, and then they come out in between the chassis and the radiator support, and then up into the cooler. Now I'm not too happy with this. I'm not sure whether I'll change that or not. It's probably going to bug me if I don't, but I might drill a couple of bulkheads, or put some bulkheads in here, and then have these hoses come up into the bulkheads, and then make 2 separate hoses go into the cooler. So that is pretty much all done for the time being. I've still got to run the brake lines from the proportional valve to the front wheels, but I might just do that off camera. It's a bit boring, brake lines, and I've already made a video on brake lines anyway. So yeah, I'll get that done off camera. But it is all starting to come together. I'm definitely ticking things off the list. The list is getting smaller, but the worst part is all this is all gonna have to come apart again so I can paint it. But I think spending the time now and mocking it all up, getting everything right now, that way I'm not gonna have any surprises when it comes time to the final assembly. And it's gonna save on scratching a lot of things as well by putting it all together now and making sure everything's right. But yeah, unfortunately it is a lot of double handling, but yeah, anyway, it is what it is. So I'm not really sure what the next episode's gonna be. I am waiting on the mudguards to arrive before I can start getting into this tray. There's probably gonna be a good 2 or 3 episodes in building that tray. There's gonna be a lot of work in that. But yeah, very excited to get stuck into the tray. I've also ordered a digital dash, so I'm waiting for that to arrive before I can start doing a custom dash. So that'll be another episode, making the custom dash. I've got some nice billet buttons to fit in as well. So I'm thinking I'm probably gonna get stuck into some more body work, start body filler the guards and the doors, the nose cone, and getting all that coated in another layer of epoxy. I've also got the bumper I can fit, and I want to cut and shut the bumper just so it hugs the bodywork a lot better from factory. But yeah, definitely need to start thinking a little bit more strategic so I can keep this content flowing every couple of weeks. Otherwise, I'm going to run out of things to do. I'm also interested to know what your thoughts on the build so far are. I understand this thing is not original anymore. There's a lot of modified parts and a lot of custom touches I've done on this. And I understand it's not everyone's cup of tea. A lot of purists are probably not going to like it, I suppose. But yeah, each to their own. I like to do things a little bit different, so I guess that's why I've sort of done a lot of modified custom touches on it. But yeah, interested to know what your thoughts. So if you do like what I do and want to help support the channel, head over to the Shenke Garage merch store. I'll put a card up in the corner here and a link in the show notes. So yeah, click either or and it'll take you to the merch store. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. I am coming up to 4,500 subscribers, so getting pretty close to the 5,000 milestone. So yeah, it would mean a lot if you could help me out to reach that milestone. Also, if you are new to the channel, I recommend watching this build from the very first episode all the way to the latest. So I'll put a card up in this corner. That'll take you to the playlist all in order. So you have a good binge on that. So yeah, we'll leave it at that and we'll see you next time on Shenke Garage. Cheers.